Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and salam sejahtera to all of you. So today I would like to present about my research. The title for the research is Movement Control Order from Student Perspective, a study on student of UiTM Pahang branch. Then the authors for this paper is me, Mohd Faizal Azrul Azwan bin Harun, Fauzi Azmi, Nohasinda Harun, Faizan Abdul Jabbar, Ahmad Aziz Jilani and Nurma Abdul Manap. So for today, I will be a presenter for this paper. So basically this paper was conducted during MCO when the students who remain on campus on that time. So for introduction, the wave of the COVID-19 pandemic had spread throughout the entire globe by the end of 2019 and eventually reached the shores of Malaysia in early 2020. So as we know, the pandemic COVID-19, the first case was found in Wuhan, China on November 2020. And then this crisis led to a historical moment in Malaysia when on 16th of March 2020, our Prime Minister, the Malaysian Prime Minister Tan Sri Yassin, had announced the implementation of a movement control order for entire Malaysia. This order was implemented due to a sudden spike of COVID-19 cases in Malaysia. This action by the PM is regarded as a timely and proper response as the number of cases had reached over 100 cases by 15 March 2020 and the number of reported cases continued to rise from day to day, and then on 17 March 2020 the case reached to 600 plus. Acting on the advice of the Ministry of Health and the National Security Council, the Prime Minister announced the first movement control order for Malaysia for 14 days. Actually, it's begin on 18 March 2020 until 30 March 2020. So this is the first phase for MCO. In line with the MCO, all schools, universities, colleges, and other institutions were instructed to close, and students were told to return to their own homes and also hometown. Means that the student not allowed to be in college or university, so they must go home. Okay, student must go home for the first announcement of MCO. Unfortunately, due to this announcement, the students began flooding bus stations and terminals to acquire bus tickets, which resulted in an anticipated mass gathering of students in many areas. Right after student listened to the announcement by our PM, by Malaysian PM, so immediately they go to find bus ticket, and then they go to anywhere to find the best way how they can go to their hometown. Then the implementation of the MCO and restricting university students from leaving campuses was the correct response to the situation by the Prime Minister on that moment. Many students suffered as this has caused them to feel great stress. So this one is actually for the problem statement. Furthermore, this time the student need to face the situation, the bad situation or the worst situation, the worst conditions, which is pandemic COVID-19 without family beside them. So the student began flooding bus station and terminal to acquire bus ticket, which resulted in an anticipated massive gathering of students in many areas. So for that time, students began to feel trapped in confinement and had to discontinue their regular activities from before the MCO. Students also felt envious of their friends who were successful in returning home to their families. So for the first one, for the first time, Prime Minister announced all students must return to their home. So some of them the other day, but on 18 March 2020, once again the Prime Minister made an announcement that all students who remain on campus on that time, they must stay on campus, then they are not allowed to leave the campus. Okay, they are not allowed to leave the campus. This is the announcement on 18 March 2020. So the reason why the PM make an announcement because the situation is very worse in bus station, in bus terminal, in flight terminal, and so on. But however, not all students were negatively impacted by the MCO. Some students also felt they are being safe, okay, to stay on campus because they are not exposed to any virus. Students also felt envious of their friends who were successfully in returning home to their families. Then some of them think that they are further away from their families, causing them to be demoralized. Besides, this group felt that they were helping in keeping their families safe from the virus as well. So for the problem statement, basically, the problem comes from the students' emotion, students' perceptions of the MCO. Okay, what will happen of the MCO? What will happen? What the result of the MCO to them? Okay, what about their feelings? What about their motivations? What about the daily activities and so on? So the objective of this paper basically to examine students of UiTM Pahang Jengka campus perceptions on the implementation of the MCO in Malaysia. So this is the reason, the objective why we conduct this kind of research. So the method that we use to conduct this research is the data was collected via face-to-face interview, and the sample involved are students who stay on the campus for that time. So the sample just student in Jengka campus. The total number of students on campus during MCO is 359. Then the questionnaire was distributed to all students who stay on campus, but only 210 was respond to that questionnaire. Okay, so the data was collected. The first method we use is face-to-face interview, and the second we also use questionnaire to get the data from the students. So based on Cauchy-Morgan table, Cauchy-Morgan 1970, the required sample based on the population size is just 169. So the interview session were done in 3 parts. So the first part during the implementation of MCO, the second part after the announcement of all learning session will be conducted during online base, and the third is during when a prime minister announced that the student who remain on campus they can return to their hometown. So in order to analyze the data, descriptive and frequency analysis is used to examine the student perceptions on the implementation of the MCO in Malaysia. For the findings and discussion, for the first one, we get the respondent information. So based on these things, the total number of respondents is 210. So some of them, the most highest for sure from female, because the highest number of students who remain on campus on that time is female, and the highest age is 168. It's come from 18 to 20 years old. Okay, because most students in Jengka campus they are from diploma level. So for those who still in diploma level, the age just between 18 to 20 years old. And then the highest faculty is from business and administration faculty. The second session, okay, we want to know the student perception of the MCO, as we can see in the table. So the highest comes from the student wanting to live freely like before the MCO, for sure. And then if we ask all people, they want to live like before MCO, that they can do anything that they want. They can go anywhere, they can play football, they can play anything, they can meet their friends anywhere, and so on. So after MCO was implemented in Malaysia, so the students like what we call is like trap, okay, like trap in campus, so they can't go anywhere. So that's why, as we can see in this table, they want to live freely like before the MCO. Furthermore, They also feel stressed about the MCO because 201 respond to this. 201 was respond to this one, and some of them feel that the MCO puts a burden on students. For sure, MCO puts a burden on students because they need to learn the new style of learning sessions, which is they not face it before. And furthermore, maybe the burden because of the assignment is maybe different before this, and others, the MCO has changed the students' way of life. For sure, this thing happened to the students. Then the second is, we ask students what are the challenges they face during online distance learning in campus. So this question, we just ask students who remain on campus, not to the students who are not in campus. So based on this data, we can see the highest number is learning objective is not achieved. So for sure, it's very difficult to the students to understand what what was taught by the lecturer during online platform. Okay, if let's say the lecture sessions done face to face, the student freely to ask the lecturer if they not understand what the lecturer said. But during online sessions, it's very difficult because the lecturer maybe the lecturer can't focus, or the lecturer maybe can't focus on the student itself. And then because of that, the objective of the learning are not achieved. Furthermore, the longer time required to get used to online distance learning. Okay, this also the challenges faced by the students. Other reason also maybe because of the lack of internet connection. So that's maybe one of the reason why they are lacking of motivation. And the next is, we also ask the student reaction after the announcement of return home permission. So this one, we want to know the student reaction. The student reaction after Prime Minister announced they can go to their hometown. So based on this data, for sure, most of them happy about being reunited with their family. So they can meet their family, they can stay with their family, and then they are very, very, very motivated because they can finally they can go to their hometown. And some of students, they want to stay on campus. Sometimes they want to stay on campus. So this thing, the reason why this thing happened, because maybe that this person stay in rural area and they have no internet connection. They have no internet connection to pursue their online learning. And then furthermore, maybe they also feel their family safety. If they going back to their home, maybe they are the persons who carry the virus and then spread to their family and so on. So that's why some of students, they are reluctant to going back to their home, and then they are prefer to stay on campus. And the last one is, we ask students overall view on the implementation of the MCO. As we can see in this table, the student overall perception of the announcement about the implementation of the MCO by the Prime Minister and about them not being allowed to leave the campus. From the entire sample, 68.10% of the students felt stressed about the implementation of MCO because of the many problems they face. On the other hand, only 31.94% of them felt obliged to comply with MCO to ensure the safety of their families at home. So as a conclusion, the implementation of the movement control order had a drastic impact on Malaysians. For many, the MCO caused a lot of stress and inconvenience. Similarly, university students also experienced a significant impact on their life, as the MCO had forced students to continue their studies using a variety of online platforms. Several students feel that the MCO brought more harm than good. This is evident as some students were forced to go to great length and find various methods to ensure a stable internet connection to sustain a smooth learning process. This includes spending a large amount of money buying more internet data. Also, the MCO had caused great stress for students who were not able to return home but instead were instructed to remain on their campuses. Despite great effort from the university's management teams in providing the student with various services such as counseling, online as well as face-to-face sessions, health and welfare, and other relevant programs in such situations. Nevertheless, despite the effort, several students still felt that they did not get enough support in coping with their conditions as they strongly yearn to be with their families during these critical times. From the researchers' point of view, although the students' stress level is at 68%, they were still emotionally stable and healthy while staying in campus. Students showed no obvious sign of negative implication from the situations. In order to give motivations to the student with the help by staff resident college, management, the counselor, and so on. So the objective of this paper was achieved because we know the perception of the student during MCO. So further research need to be conducted in depth of the psychological effects on students after the MCO in order to prepare for the upcoming event of pandemic. Because as we know, the pandemic COVID-19 had no virus yet, and we don't know until when the pandemics will occur in the world. Okay, and then also the Perintah Kawalan Pergerakan Pemulihan still continue until end of this year. Okay, so that's all for the presentation. Thank you to all of you. Then if you have any question, you can ask me. Okay, Assalamualaikum and thank you.